Okay guys, so as promised, I wanted to take just a quick moment and walk you through some of the aspects of the annotated bibliography so that as you're preparing to wrap up your paper, you kind of know that you have everything, all your ducks, so to speak, in a row, right? So the first thing I really want to show you guys is based around how and where to ensure that you're looking at peer review research. So again, if you go to the UNT Dallas homepage, and you go to the library, click on electronic resources. Now, there are lots of different options you can go to. It definitely does not mean that the one that you have chosen based on this information does not give you peer review research. I just happen to find that EBSCO tends to give really good, robust ways into getting directly to that peer review research and taking out all of the guesswork. So you'll have to log in. Just a moment here, every time. Beautiful. And now it's going to take you to a home page where you've got lots of different options going on, right? The first thing I would like you to do is make sure you scroll down and hit scholarly peer-reviewed journal articles, right? This takes the guesswork out of, am I looking at a peer review? Am I not looking at a peer review? So that you can easily kind of navigate through the aspects of knowing, yes, I am in fact looking at a peer review research journal article. So I'm creating this video for kind of a double dose for both environmental science and for some of my other classes. So there's going to be a little bit of touch point for each. So for environmental science, if I am looking up something as it relates to plastic pollution in the ocean, right? I can look this up. It's going to take a moment to think, and now boom, it's going to populate all of these different peer-reviewed journal articles. Now you can adjust the timeline. For the purposes of any of the papers that I assign to any classes, I would like you to find research that is at least within the last 5 to 6 years, right? So we can just zoom into that and we can say, okay, let's look for things, let's go as far back as 2014. It's going to update, it's going to populate for me, right? And now look, I've got all of these beautiful peer-reviewed journal articles that are available for me to look at. The next thing you're going to want to look for are those that come pre-stocked with a full version of the text, right? That's really nice and easy, because then you don't have to worry about getting access to them or not getting access to them. There are going to be instances where maybe you're specifically looking for one thing in particular. If it comes up, let's see if I can find one that doesn't, right? So in this case, oh, that's got full text open access. Let's just see what this comes up as. Right, so right now, this is just giving me a brief description, but let's check this access URL and see if it gives us access, right? So let's see. Full text, article not found. Okay, that's not good. So let's go back here. Actually, but this is a great example. So let's say I really want this paper. I think this paper, based on the brief description, is going to do me a really good job in giving me all the factual information, some statistics and some analysis. Or maybe I found reference to this paper elsewhere, and I really do want to make sure that I've got the correct information from it. You can simply go down to your, for me, I have a PC, so I can type in snipping tool, right? And I can literally just take a physical copy of this. It's got all the information, the volume number, the page numbers, and all of that. I can copy and paste this into an email to the library asking for permission to have requests to this. It will take a little bit of time, maybe up to 24 hours, maybe up to 48, but the library should be able to find access for you. But to avoid this, right, to make sure that there is, because there are lots of papers that do allow for full access, right? This one in particular, full text PDF. So there's no guesswork. I have direct access to this. I can read the entire paper. I can pull out the information that I need. So that would be my suggestion. Find things for you that work, right? Find things that have already full text available to you. Now, you can cite these. Notice my little cite tool over here, right? So it's loading. Notice it's got now all the different versions of how to reference these things. I want them in APA citation format. There you go. You can simply copy and paste that right into your annotated bib, right? That does not account for how to in-text reference, which we're going to talk about in just a minute, but make your life easy for you. There are tools that are available for researchers. We know as researchers that we have to be able to cite our sources. So again, I've got the full access to the paper, and now I've got no qualms, I've got no questions about how to exactly cite APA citation, right? I can simply copy and paste it directly into my reference section. So that brings us to point number 2. These references have to stand for something, right? You're not just simply taking these references and putting them into an annotated bib but not referencing them in the paper. That wouldn't make any sense. There would be no reason for me to have an annotated bibliography because you didn't reference that work in the body of the paper itself. So what we need to do then is, and this is just some research that I have done in the past, we need to take and access the things that we like from those papers. We are not copying and pasting. We are not pulling language directly from the paper and just simply putting it into the paper itself, right? What we're doing is we're taking that language, maybe those facts, maybe those statistics, maybe the language, and we're putting it into our own words. This is where Turnitin is incredibly important for me because it's going to take the guesswork out of where did you copy and paste this? Where did you maybe possibly get access to this that you have just simply plagiarized, right? Let's avoid that at all costs. So what we want to do then is, let me close this down. We want to make reference to it in the paper itself. So what we're going to do is we're going to state something. So in this case, I've stated a fact, a nearly 15% increase beyond the already 4 billion people currently inhabiting early urban areas. I did not do that research. I did not pull that fact. So there's no way I could simply have just added that in there without having some statistical representation, facts and figures and data analysis. That is a big indicator that this came from an outside source. So I need to reference it. So in this case, I pulled this information from a paper by an individual, or I pulled it in particularly from a website that the author's last name was Ritchie, and it was published in 2018. Now, going down further, again, what current resources are available, how allocation of said resources will meet an ever-growing demand and landscape. Again, I am not pulling this information, I am not writing this information as my own. I'm simply taking it and applying what the research was from that paper and using that in my own terminology here. So again, here is a new reference point that I have to plug in. So there again is Bloom, and in this case, we have 1, 2, 3 authors. So I can put Bloom et al., Bloom and others, right? That was published in 2008. Finally, our last one, in this case, right, I am pulling information from actually 2 resources here. So I have to reference both of them, Dute and Ross, and Henderson as one individual author. Now, this is the traditional way of APA citation format that we tend to go with in terms of research papers. However, there's another secondary version of APA citation format that we can do as well. In the case of here, what we want to do is we want to reference them, even though we're pulling from them and they're out of alphabetical order, we're going to put them in alphabetical order if we're giving the author's last name or the author's last name and multiple other authors on this paper. However, there is a secondary way we can do this, in which we can label the references as just reference number 1, reference number 2, reference number 3, reference number 4. And in this case, we are no longer doing them in alphabetical order. I physically have to tie a number to the direct reference of which I was referencing. Otherwise, this number doesn't mean anything to me, right? Notice I do not have numbers here, right? This is in alphabetical order, even though this is not in alphabetical order. I know the paper I'm referencing because I'm looking for the author's last name and the year it was published down in the reference section. Here, I'm saying, okay, I have a reference to this first reference point. There we go. Number 1, this must be the reference they were referring to, right? So again, this is just a very high-level overview of how you need to do in-text citations, and again, where to pull that information from in terms of a research source online. So I'm going to close this. And if you are environmental science students, you can actually tune out now. But for my urban ecology students and others, some of you are having issues with how do I find papers that directly relate to my particular plant. I'm not finding information specifically about my plant that's peer-reviewed research or my animal that's peer-reviewed research. So again, if you're environmental science, feel free to just go ahead and step away. But I'm just going to kind of make this as a one-stop shop for all annotated bibliographies. So again, same thing, go back into electronic resources, go into EBSCO because I think it's easiest. And now again, choose scholarly peer review. But here is where I'm finding that students are having a little bit of some troubles. So what I think students are doing is they're getting caught in this idea that it has to be whatever my animal or flower is, and then somewhere in the title of the paper or the discussion of the paper needs to be that it's native to Texas or it's about Texas. That is not the case, right? You're just simply looking for any peer review research that can be supportive for why that would be helpful in your space. Because again, even though these plants may be native to Texas, they also may be native to Arizona, or they may be native to parts of Arkansas, right? We are in a latitude and longitude zone that animals have a wide variety, right? Or plants have a wide range of which they can experience or survive. So the first thing I would do is, right, I'm going to look up bluebonnets because I know the bluebonnet is the Texas flower first and foremost. And the easiest way to do this that I have found is to go and find the official genus and species of the actual flower, right? So Lupinus is actually the genus, but in the case of our bluebonnets that we find here in Texas, right, I'm going to go to this one, and I'm going to open in a new tab, close this down. I'm going to copy this because this is the official genus and species, and then I'm going to type that here, right? And now what am I going to do? I'm going to see different versions of peer-reviewed journal articles that are available, right? And in this case, let's see if the full text, they're telling me it's full text, so let's see if that pulls up. Right? Read and download, log in through your school, view a preview. Here is where, again, the idea is that maybe there's enough information here even in the abstract that you can pull. You can do a preview where you can just see the opening couple of pages. Let's see if we can log in here. So unfortunately, it doesn't seem like we have access to this right now, but what I can recommend, let's see. right? This looks like a really great one. Pollination, all of these things. So again, unfortunately, it might be that you may need to do a screenshot of this and ask for access through the library itself. But at the very least, I hope this has provided for you just a brief overview of, again, you don't necessarily have to have that it's, in this case, the species has the word Texas in it. So again, we know this is absolutely native and only found in Texas. But there were other different versions, right, of bluebonnets that still grow in Texas. There's different species under the larger genus. So you can choose one, and again, it doesn't mean that you have to find it that it's stating something about Texas particularly. Use what is out there in terms of the research of that plant to sell your story, so to speak, of how that would be an advantage in your space. The research itself does not need to address Texas. It just needs to address why it's beneficial in an ecosystem, or how it helps in terms of soil quality, or what it does in terms of attracting pollinators. It doesn't have to say the word Texas in the article itself. Okay, I hope this has been helpful. Again, if you have any additional questions, please come see me in office hours. I hope this has been just at least a brief overview of kind of how to cite in text, how to put together your reference page, how to easily cite, right, in terms of the papers, in terms of the correct format. There's no guesswork here. And again, as far as how to kind of put together your urban space proposal. All right, guys, hope this was helpful.